1. What does Aristotle mean by nature? Explain. For Aristotle, nature refers to the intrinsic principle of motion and rest within entity. Unlike artificial objects, which require external forces to change, natural beings have an internal cause that drives their development and change. Aristotle defines nature as the essence of a thing that determines its growth and behavior. He contrasts natural things, such as plants and animals, with artifacts, which lack an inherent source of change. For example, a tree grows because of its nature, whereas a wooden table remains unchanged unless acted upon externally. Aristotle also links nature to his four causes: material, formal, efficient, and final. The final cause, or telos, is particularly important, as he sees nature as purposeful. Everything in nature has an end goal. For instance, an acorn naturally develops into an oak tree because that is its inherent purpose. Thus, for Aristotle, nature is not just the material composition of things, but also their inner essence, guiding their development toward a specific end. This teleological view of nature contrasts with modern mechanistic interpretations, emphasizing purpose rather than mere physical laws. Point 2. Explain Aristotle's theory of holomorphism. Aristotle's theory of holomorphism is a fundamental concept in his Metaphysics, explaining the relationship between matter and form in the composition of all physical substances. According to Aristotle, everything in the natural world is a compound of matter and form, which together constitute its substance, ousia. Matter refers to the underlying physical material that makes up an object. However, matter alone is indeterminate. It does not have a definite shape or function until it receives form. Form is what gives a thing its identity, structure, and purpose. It is the organizing principle that shapes matter into a particular substance. For example, in a statue, the marble, matter, takes on the shape of a human figure, form. Aristotle sees the soul as the form of the body. In his De Anima, on the soul, he argues that the soul is not a separate entity, but rather the organizing principle that makes a living thing what it is. For example, a human's body, matter, is shaped and animated by the soul, form, which enables it to function as a human. If the soul is removed, the body ceases to be a living human. It becomes just a collection of matter. Point 3. List and describe each of the four causes identified by Aristotle. The material cause refers to the physical substance or matter that makes up an object. It answers the question, what is this thing composed of? For example, a wooden table's material cause is wood. However, matter alone does not determine what the object is. It must also take on a particular form. The formal cause refers to the shape, arrangement, or defining characteristics that make something what it is. It answers the question, what gives this object its identity? For example, the formal cause of a statue is its design or shape, which distinguishes it from just a block of stone. In living beings, the formal cause could be their biological structure and organization. For example, the arrangement of organs in a human being. The efficient cause refers to the agent or process that brings something into being. It answers the question, how did this object come to exist? In the case of a statue, the sculptor who carves it is the efficient cause. In the natural processes, efficient causes could be biological reproduction, chemical reactions, or physical forces. For example, a baby's efficient cause is his or her parents, and a house's efficient cause is the construction work done by the builders. The final cause refers to the purpose or function of an object, what it is meant to do or achieve. It answers the question, why does this thing exist? Aristotle believed that everything in nature has a purpose, which he called telos. For example, the final cause of an acorn is to grow into an oak tree. In human-made objects, the final cause of a chair is to provide a place to sit. Point 4. Why are the four causes important to an explanation of the natural world? Aristotle's four causes provide a comprehensive framework for understanding the natural world by explaining not only how things come into existence, but also why they exist and behave the way they do. Unlike modern scientific explanations, which often focus primarily on efficient causes, mechanisms of change, Aristotle believed that a complete explanation of any natural phenomenon must include all four causes: material, formal, efficient, and final. This holistic approach is crucial to understanding complexity and purpose of nature. Understanding natural objects and living organisms, In Aristotle's view, natural substances, such as plants, animals, and elements, are best understood through all four causes. By applying this framework, Aristotle explains not just how things grow, but why they develop in particular ways. His approach contrasts with purely mechanistic explanations by emphasizing the teleological, purpose-driven nature of living beings. Explaining change and motion in nature, Aristotle's four causes help explain natural changes and transformations. The idea of final causality is central to Aristotle's explanation of the physical world. While modern science tends to avoid teleological explanations, Aristotle saw nature as inherently goal-directed. Overall, Aristotle's four causes remain a powerful tool for explaining a natural world, allowing us to see that nature is not just a collection of random events, but rather an ordered system with structure, purpose, and interconnected causes. Point 5. List Aristotle's 10 categories of being and predictation and give a brief definition of each. Aristotle's 10 categories are a classification system he developed in his work Categories to describe different ways in which things can be said to be. They apply both to substances, things that exist independently, and their accidents, qualities or attributes that depend on substances. Point 1. Substance, ousia, the fundamental category that refers to an individual entity or being. Example, a horse, a tree, or Socrates. Point 2. Quantity, poson, refers to how much or how big something is. It relates to measurable aspects. Example, 3 feet long, 3. Quality, poion, describe the characteristics or properties of a substance. Example, red, brave, soft, intelligent. 4. Relation, pros ti, indicates how one thing is related to another. Example, larger than, father of, double of 5. Place, po, refers to where something is located. Example, in the room, on the table. 6. Time, pot, specifies when something occurs. Example, yesterday, at noon. In 2025. 7. Position, kaishtai, the arrangement or posture of something. Example, lying down, sitting, standing upright. 8. State, echin, a condition or situation something is in, often relating to a possession. Example, wearing an armor, holding a book. 9. Action, poen, describe what something is doing. Example, running, writing, speaking. 10. Passion, paschine, describe what is being done to something, how it is affected. Example, being cut, being burned, being pushed. Aristotle's 10 categories help analyze language and reality, distinguishing between what things are, substances, and their various attributes, accidents. Point 6. Which category of being is primary, and why? According to Aristotle, the primary category of being is substance, ousia. Substance is fundamental because it serves as the basis for all other categories. Without substance, the other categories, such as quantity, quality, and relation, would have no reference point, since they all describe something about the substance rather than existing independently. Independent existence. Substances exist on their own, whereas the other categories, called accidents, depend on substances to exist. Example, a horse, substance, can exist independently, but its color, quality, and size, quantity, cannot exist without the horse itself. Subject of predication. Substances are the things to which other categories apply. Example, when we say, Socrates is wise, wisdom, quality, belongs to Socrates, substance. Persistence through change. Substances remain the same through change, while their accidental properties can change. Example, a tree, substance, may grow taller, quantity, or change color, quality, but it remains the same tree. 7. List and define, in their ontological form, the 3 principles/laws of thought and being. Aristotle identified 3 fundamental principles of thought and being, which serve as the foundation for logic and metaphysics. These principles are ontological, concerning being itself, and logical, governing rational thought. They are necessary for making sense of reality and reasoning coherently. Point 1. The law of identity, A, is a definition. Everything is identical to itself. Ontological form. A thing is what it is. Its essence remains the same. Explanation. Each being has a definite nature or essence that distinguishes it from other things. Example, a tree is a tree and not something else. If something is a tree, it cannot at the same time be a rock. Point 2. The law of non-contradiction, it cannot be both A and not A at the same time and in the same respect. Definition. Something cannot both be and not be at the same time and in the same way. Ontological form. A being cannot have contradictory properties in the same respect. Explanation. This law ensures that reality is consistent. If contradictions were possible, rational thought and knowledge would be meaningless. Example. A cat cannot be both alive and dead at the same time in the same sense. Schrodinger's thought experiment, in reality, follows this law. Point 3. The law of excluded middle, either A or not A, must be true, with no middle option. Definition. For any proposition, either it is true or its negation is true. Ontological form. A being either exists or does not exist. There is no in-between. Explanation. Reality does not allow for an in-between state where something both exists and does not exist. Every claim about reality must either be true or false. Example. Either a door is open or it is not. It cannot be both open and not open at the same time. These three laws form the foundation of logic, science, and philosophy. They ensure that reasoning aligns with reality and prevent contradictions. Aristotle considered them self-evident and necessary, meaning they do not require proof but are the basis for all rational thought and existence. Point 8. Can the laws of thought/being be demonstrated? Explain. Aristotle argues that the laws of thought and being, identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle, cannot be demonstrated in the usual sense because they are self-evident first principles. Instead of being proven through logical deduction, they serve as the foundation for all proof and rational discourse. However, Aristotle provides indirect ways to justify them. Why can't they be demonstrated? The first principles are axiomatic. Every proof relies on more fundamental principles. If we attempted to prove the laws of thought, we would have to assume them in the process, leading to circular reasoning. Example. To prove the law of non-contradiction, A cannot be both A and not A. One must assume that contradictions are not possible, which is precisely what the law states. Self-evidence of the laws. These principles are not derived from other premises, they are immediately known through reason. Denying them would make meaningful thought and communication impossible. How can they be defended? Although they cannot be demonstrated in the strict sense, Aristotle defends them using indirect proof, reductio ad absurdum, or law of non-contradiction. If someone denies this law, claiming contradictions can be true, then their own statement must be both true and false at the same time. This destroys meaningful discourse because no distinction can be made between true and falsehood. The law of identity. If something were not itself, then all distinctions in reality would collapse. For example, if tree were not tree, then nothing could be identified, making all knowledge impossible. The law of excluded middle. If there were a middle ground between A and not A, it would itself have to be either A or not A, making the denial of the law self-defeating. In conclusion, the laws of thought and being cannot be demonstrated in any conventional way because they are the foundation of demonstration itself. However, Aristotle shows that denying them leads to absurdity, making them necessary truths of both logic and reality.